everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer at beautiful Monmouth Park. It is Haskell week. Race number 6 on Haskell Saturday is the Grade 3 Molly Pitcher. Mile and a 16th, fillies and mares. Let's take a look at this field. $500,000 is the purse.
Wow.
We have champion Idiomatic back after a tough beat at Saratoga at the hooves of Randomized, who she defeated in the Breeders' Cup Distaff last year.
Ran really well last time, just couldn't quite get there. When I first saw the entries then, I was kind of surprised that this was the start that they picked out for her out of the Phipps. Then you mentioned the purse there, $500,000, it makes more sense.
Makes a lot of sense, and we throw up the Timeform US pace projector. We know that Idiomatic sometimes has a little bit of a stutter step out of the gate, but she usually recovers quickly enough. She can make the lead if necessary. There have been times that Florence Giroux doesn't seem that interested in making it with her because she's just as good sitting second or third. I wonder in this race, does she make it by default?
Yeah, the good news is it doesn't matter really if she doesn't make it, but it feels like a situation where she could make it pretty easily if they wanted it. I doubt that if they're going to run here. I doubt they're going to be playing too many games.
Shug McGahee persevered with the one Kathleen O, a horse who began her career in fine style. She won her first 4 starts, then went on a long losing streak, and it looked like Kathleen O might never win again. Well, she did, and she did it right here at Monmouth in this race, the Serena Song last time out. It was a sloppy track. She upset a colt, a filly that might have needed a race off the bench.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, it was still nice to see Kathleen O sort of get back to the winner's circle, especially in a stakes race, Dan. I guess the problem with that win is it still only came back with a 78 by her speed figure, so it's not like she improved all that much off of her very disappointing prior 3 starts.
Frosty O'Toole is the number 2. Jersey Joe Bravo picks up the mount. Well beaten by Misty Vale, who's also in this race. And Misty Vale, you would think on paper, has got a lot to do in order to beat Idiomatic. So it's a pretty big mountain to climb for Frosty O'Toole, who goes out for an underrated trainer in Mike Deany.
Just hard to like at this point. I mean, her overall form, it is what it is, and she's rock solid. These are tough races for her to run in, Dan. There was a brief period as a 3-year-old, I guess they thought they had high hopes for her. They transferred to Pletcher, that ran her in a bunch of graded stakes races. It didn't work out, and it's not like she's that much better now.
I was pleased to see this performance from the number 3, Just Katherine, a runner-up effort in the Grade 2 Bed of Roses, because going into this race, she was sort of a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type of horse. Run her in an allowance race, she looks like a stakes horse. Run her in a stakes race, she looks like an allowance horse. Well, she looked like a stakes horse here, running second to a pretty good filly in Exceed. Solid 87 by her. Now they're stretching around. Is she maybe a one-turn horse?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, she did run well last time. It feels like the cutback in distance helped her, but you also go back to last summer at Saratoga. She ran really well, 1 1/8 around 2 turns. So I don't know, man. I'm going to say that the distance is okay for her. It's worth noting that both she and the number 5 Misty Vale are cross-entered into the Shoe V on Sunday at Saratoga, and that's a very short field, so maybe you'll see them there because they don't have to face Idiomatic, but if Just Katherine runs here, I think she's a player.
Soul of an Angel goes out for a red-hot barn in Sappy Joseph, and this one pulled off a 24-1 upset over Randomized in the Ruffian, and Randomized came back and beat Idiomatic in the Phipps. Great ride from Trevor McCarthy that day, saving all of the ground, easing out in the stretch, and running down Randomized, who might have needed one off the bench. They tried similar tactics in the Phipps last time out, couldn't make up the needed ground. Probably has to run the Ruffian. That was a 1-turn race. I wonder if that's her bag.
I wonder about that too. I think we should at least point out though that the 9 furlong Phipps last time, he didn't really want to be closing ground on that track. So we'll give her maybe a little bit of a pass for that. In retrospect, Randomized probably needed that Ruffian off the layoff. That being said, this horse ran a 98 by her winning that race, and she won pretty convincingly. She went to 98 in here. I think she's right there.
The 5 is Misty Vale, and she is so tactical. She works out her trip every single time, it seems. She was purchased for $210,000 earlier this year, and she came back and won this race, the $250,000 Lady Jacqueline. And as usual, she found a great spot early. She was able to just dominate that weaker field in the stretch. It was nice to see Misty Vale, a horse that occasionally wins by this much and loses by this much, win by the length of the stretch.
I agree. Good job, too, by Mike Maker and the connections to find that spot for her. Get her confidence up. She ran a fast race there. She's very tactical. Another good trip coming for her here. Listen, she's really consistent. She is what she is. I would never bet her on top in this race. If you want to use her underneath, be my guest.
The 6 is Idiomatic, and she won 6 in a row, including last year's Breeders' Cup Distaff and her seasonal debut in the La Trienne. Here is the Ogden Phipps last time out. Didn't break great, rushed up and was sort of hung outside. It was a day where speed did well. Randomized got the jump on her as she did in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. And Idiomatic, she tried hard, she just couldn't get there.
Just missed in a little bit of a head bob there at the end. I know it was disappointing, I guess, for her to lose. I still thought that she ran pretty well there, Dan. And I also really liked her La Troyenne over this distance off the layup. I know it sort of looked like she was in deep water in the stretch there, but she won that race really easily. I don't think we're going to be breaking any news here with this filly at a very short price, but she's way the horse to beat.
Miles of Smiles is going to take a chance jumping up out of this victory in a first-level allowance at Monmouth. She has looked good in both starts at Monmouth this year, winning them both by a combined 10 3/4 lengths. Maybe she's a new horse over this surface. Yeah. She's going to have to be a new horse and then some to upset this group. But again, in a short field, great opportunity to get some black ties.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, her last 2 races are good. It really doesn't matter in a race like this.
Top pick time, do I have to ask?
No, you don't have to ask me. I'm not going to bet against Idiomatic in here. I feel like there's a chance this field even scratches down to even a shorter one, and even if it doesn't, she's going to be really hard to beat.
Looks like a good spot for Idiomatic to get back to a winning race. She's going to be a short price, but the champ will be on display here at Monmouth Park on Haskell Saturday. Best of luck.